fellas, welcome back in. We're here for another episode. We're episode 43, climbing up the charts. Almost to 50. Almost to 50.
7's a perfect number. 4 plus 3.
As long as the two of y'all don't bring up 6, 7.
No. I wasn't
You
gonna,
did that time.
Golly.
I'm waiting on it.
You can't go anywhere these days without that coming up.
My daughters, they still she sees it on the microwave. She's like, Dad, 6, 7.
Give it 2 or 3 months. It'll be over.
And then I tried to be a smart aleck, and I was like, you don't even know what that means. I don't know why you're still saying it. And she's like, it's a basketball player's height. And I'm like, this is my 6-year-old. I'm like, I don't have a comeback.
I was talking to a teacher the other day, and she said they have to navigate it a certain way in the schools. Like if they're going through a number, it's like, okay, you do 6 and you do 8 minus 1, and then you do 9. And then
I saw a student pastor friend of mine the other day that was working on graphics for a new series, and it had graphics that were like 6, 7. He was like, for the love, can we leave this in 2025?
Yeah, it's got to be done. Get over with.
You're not helping me by doing this. So, hey, we just came out of a great 2-part series.
Yeah.
I thought it was really informative. Thought that was great. We had a lot of really good conversation and talk through that, which is kind of cool because today's topic kind of comes out of what we discussed. I know we made some comments like, man, that could be an episode. And, well, Benji made an episode.
Here we go.
So,
let's do it.
So today we're talking more about, you kind of called it Fix It Now. And we're talking a little bit more about, when leaders fix the things that they're supposed to let their team do. We talked a lot about that last episode where, that doesn't allow for growth and how that could be too much noise because you're like, well, I'll just do it. Nobody does it like me. So I think this is a great one. And this is really good whether you don't have to really necessarily be like a company owner. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could be somebody that's just, something like, think about like a T-ball coach. This could be something that applies to somebody that's leading a serve team.
Hey, listen, this could help you in your marriage.
It can help you in your marriage. So, but then again, anything, I always try to make sure I do everything for Emily and shouldn't have to do anything or I'm going to get myself in trouble. So.
But she may not want you to.
True. She is very independent. She probably doesn't like that at all. So, but I think this will be this is just really good across the board.
Yeah.
Because we've talked a lot about this and growth comes from that. If you're continuing to do things that you have put people in place for, then why are you paying that person? And 2, why are you doing that where you're bogging yourself down? Because you're going to stress yourself out more.
No.
It's the law of the lid. I mean, we've had things where you talk about, your cup can be so full.
Oh, yeah.
And one little drop overflows it, and it just explodes.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it a little bit, Dave. Benji, this is kind of your topic you took from it. So
I mean, I love it because fix it now. I think a lot of times, and we really don't think of it this way, but as a leader, as a husband, as a coach, when does stepping in become stepping over?
Yeah.
Because to your point, you give people authority at your job, at your work, wherever, and you are paying these people to help you take your company to a whole nother level. And sometimes if we don't allow them to operate in their authority, it could be, perceived as stepping over them. And so how can we, not have to just fix it fast?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a temptation. You're busy. Our schedules get lined up. We something's broke. Brady mentioned it. I think it was part 2 of this last episode that we got to step in and we just got to just fix it because it's easier sometimes, just to fix the problem.
Yep.
So our first instinct is fix it now.
Yeah.
And so how do we do that? You can't, we would tell ourselves, well, you can't handle it without me, Yeah. So every time you do their job, you're training them not to. So let's take a mind shift for a second, okay? And I got a couple questions for you guys. So obviously, leadership isn't about doing; it's about developing. You just mentioned that a second ago. We've got to develop our leaders, right, to step up. When should we step in strategically, and when should we even step in emotionally? A lot of people don't think about the second one sometimes. So strategically, when we would step in, Brady, I'll pitch this to you. When should a leader step in strategically? When should they step in to help a situation out?
I think it's a really good question. Like we've said, I mean, we feel like that. And listen, I'm guilty as charged. I'm the first one to raise my hand. I feel like that there's nobody that can do it better than I can, right? And there's probably
Yep.
not. But I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how to answer here. I feel like if I say the wrong thing, I'm going to get myself in trouble.
But kind of like what we talked about in the last 2 episodes was, is it the highest best use of your time? Okay. Is there somebody that can fix it? All right. And so, but really, I think it's, and I'm gonna answer your question, but I think it's we have to look at ourselves in the mirror first. Okay. And you talked about development. So why do we not give people the opportunity to fix it? Why do we feel like we have to jump in and fix it? It's only a couple different reasons, I think. Okay. See if you guys agree with this. But one is maybe we just don't trust them.
That's a
That's big one.
Okay. And that's a whole nother thing to discuss, But the second thing is probably more important or just as important, but maybe we haven't taught them enough to be able to do it. So it's kind of like your kids, right? Do you want to do you want your kids to make mistakes? Do you want them to fail? Do you want, not necessarily fail, but do you want them to go through some things that's like, yeah, I saw that coming. We've talked about it, but I'm not going to step in and fix it for you because you need to learn. Yeah. Because once you learn that lesson, then, you'll probably never do it again, that type of thing. But I think that's the same way with our people is, again, we don't trust them. And if we don't trust them, then that's like I said, that's a whole other thing that, we may have to step in, but we may have to replace that leader.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, if we're not developing those leaders the right way, then we're not giving them the opportunity to, hey, you know what, Adam, you go ahead and solve it. I remember we were in a leadership meeting a couple weeks ago, and we're giving some updates, and some of the team was like, well, hey, here's an update on this thing, and I forget exactly what it was, but they saw a kind of a look on my face, and they're like, oh, Brady, do you not like that? And I was like, look, this is not that big of a thing for now. Do I not like it? Yeah, I wouldn't have done it that way, but that's okay. As long as we're getting to the end result, and that's something I've had to learn big time, is some things are just not that big of a deal. Yeah. Some things don't, the things that we should be solving are the things that speak to the strategic plan, that speak to the big things that we're trying to solve in the business for that year. So when should we step in? It's when, last resort, nothing's getting done, but it's the things that are going to affect the outcome of those objectives that we have set as a company.
So complete opposite. Adam, I'll throw it to you to see what you think. When should a leader step in emotionally?
First of all, I feel like that's a shot from the two of y'all, because who I am as an individual.
Wait, Adam,
I'm
emotional?
I'm an emotional person.
So think of
or as you like to call it, you're passionate.
Passionate. That's
what
right.
you do. That's what.
That's right.
So let me put a small spin on it. Okay.
But you're good. I just think it's funny. I got
two schools of thought. Emotionally could be the leader is like, I'm not we're not going to do this, and they're just going to take over. Or it could be maybe the person that should be fixing the issue is in an emotional state.
Yeah.
So think of it from both ways.
Well, I think sometimes you have to look at things emotionally with how we get caught up with the situation. Whatever it is you could really apply it to anything you're dealing with when it comes to emotion. I live my life through my emotions. I wear them on my sleeve. I'm one of these people, it's hard. And at the end of the day too, it's hard to hide your face. Really. It's one of those things where how many times has your spouse or maybe somebody told you hey, you need to fix your face? People,
we can see it.
We can see it. And so I think sometimes when when you need to look at handling that is maybe when the individual, you've realized that they can't rationally think through something. They're so caught up in, the way someone made them feel, or they're caught up in the way that somebody talked to them, or maybe they're dealing with something that you don't realize. We talk about this all the time. You only see what people allow you to see. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And not that gives anyone the right to respond away or do anything. But I think you as a leader, you have to be able to recognize those things. We had a situation at the church like this where one of my leaders had something happen. It was actually during our Christmas service. It's very stressful. There's a lot going on. I mean, it's one of our 2 biggest days of the year. And we had some emotion from 2 different individuals, and I'm like, hold on. And I didn't need to, like, they need to figure out how to work this, but I knew in that moment, this isn't getting fixed. And we've got a lot that's got to get done before our first service. Cause we don't, we have multiple services in a day, and that's not something we normally do.
Yeah.
So there's already added stress. So for me as a leader, I stepped in and said, I'll do this. I'll go move this. I'll go put this up. Did I have the time to do it? No. But I also felt like we had some individuals that were already stressed with the day. There were some things that weren't working, and I needed in that moment to say, all right, I'm good. Like, I'm in a right state of mind.
Yeah, for sure.
And I say that loosely. Like, I don't want somebody to feel like they're not, but I knew, hey, let me go put this stuff up. Hey, let me go do this. And after it was done, I went and talked to the individual. I was like, hey, don't stress it. You're good. Like, it's just not a good way to communicate. It was a bad communication time. Look, I'll get this ready. You go get some coffee, relax. I'll get things ready. You come in, we get to work. And so, and I know that's a small,
it's
kind of a small thing. I mean, I think there's bigger cases that can have bigger ramifications, and it's just in that moment for me, I felt like, hey, that's where I feel like a leader, I need to step in, is when I realized that my team, they're struggling controlling or really handling their emotions. Because sometimes we get caught up in it. I mean, I'm the prime example of that. I mean, in all jokes aside, it's in everything. I have to be aware of anything I'm doing. I have to be aware of when I get frustrated. I have to be aware of these situations, and I don't always do the best job regulating it. But I, as a leader, have to do a good job with my team so I can help them regulate it.
Yeah.
So.
It's a great way to put it, but you said it right too. Like, as a leader, we have to ask ourselves, am I solving this because it's an urgent matter or because I don't trust? You said it exactly. Yeah. And sometimes leaders, we create capacity by letting go, not holding things tighter.
Yeah.
So we give ourselves a chance to take care of other things that may be necessary, not to have to fix it now. But there may come that point in time where you're like, look, emotionally, you're in a state right now. Obviously, we don't tell them this, but you're in a state right now. I recognize something's going on. Mm-hmm. Let me go take care of this, and we'll have a conversation how we can make this better in the future.
Well, and on the flip side, I think you as a good leader need to realize that this is happening frequently. Then there's another, I don't know what that discussion needs to be, but there's something else that we need to figure out. Obviously there's one-offs, there's things that happen. But that's where you as a leader need to recognize, all right, am I constantly doing this? Am I constantly having to regulate your emotions and feelings? Or, am I constantly having to fix your strategy? Or are you bringing these things to the table? Because if I'm having to take time to realize it and I've got to regulate myself, I also can't regulate everybody else.
Yeah.
It just, again, it's that stress.
Well, I think I know, speaking for me specifically, I can't speak for you guys, but sometimes I'm just like, if I'm dealing with an emotional situation, then I'll step in and fix it just because I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'll just step in and fix it. Let's just fix it and move on.
Check the box off.
I mean, I was in a meeting yesterday, and it got kind of heated, and we're just like, but I've learned enough by now that if you acknowledge it and kind of step into it, sometimes it even makes it even worse. So it's just like, okay, let's just table that for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll come back to it. We're not gonna just completely ignore it, but we'll come back to it. But it's getting a little tense in here, and tension's good. Okay, don't get me wrong. Healthy conflict is good, but sometimes, you can't just step over and fix it.
Yeah,
I know that. Like even me and my wife, Melissa, we've talked about this from time to time, because sometimes she'll be saying something and I'm thinking, well, I just need to fix it. Let's just fix it. And so I had a mentor. I probably said this on the show before, but I had a mentor one time. I said, Brady, if you want a healthy marriage, like, you can't do that. He said, let me give you the solution. And he said, next time that happens, I want you to laugh.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
Sarah would get ticked off.
I'm laughing at your situation.
I'm like,
I hope it's an acronym, because
I don't think that's going to be healthy for my marriage. He goes, no, not LAUGH, LAF. So it is an acronym.
So I was hoping.
okay.
I was like, please. Let
All right, I'm tracking.
He says, here's what I want you to do when you're in that situation again. And this happens with some of our employees too. You need to ask the question, or you just wanted me to listen, okay, which is kind of hard, okay. Do you want me to affirm what's happening right now? Just agree with what's happening, or do you want me to fix it? And I was like, man, that is golden, and that has served me well I still mess up a lot, but sometimes we'll be in these conversations, and even with employees, I'll ask, like, okay, hold on, you're getting it, it's an emotional situation. Yeah. You're very passionate about, and Adam and I probably had these conversations,
multiple conversations like this.
Are you just wanting me to just be a sounding board, which I'm okay doing, or do you actually want me to fix it? Because I need perspective, because as you're sitting there talking, I'm thinking about solutions. But if I don't need to, like if you just want to talk about it, I'm great doing that too, and I'll just sit back and 2 ears, 1 mouth. I'll just listen.
So is it one of these things where when you're dealing with that, is it something where they can only pick one? Is that when you're using that method, is it like, hey, you in this situation, like, hey, we need to, or is it like a pick two? I'm just thinking, like, is it one of these things where you do all three? Like, pick two and meet three? Like,
no. I think it's a good question, Adam, because I think sometimes if you approach it the right way, because listen, relationships themselves are all about expectation.
Yeah.
Like, what is the expectation here? And sometimes when you don't get the expectation out, then nobody really knows what the expectation is. So if you state it initially, then it may turn into, let's say, like Emily just says, I just want you to listen right now.
Which is typically most of the time.
And then once you agree with it, it's like, okay, well, I can do that.
I can do that.
Then because you've acknowledged that, she may actually at the end of the conversation say, hey, thank you so much for listening. Now can you help me come up with a solution?
So it could transition into.
Could transition.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question from a leader's perspective. What are a couple ways that a leader must step in? Like they got to step in to fix the problem.
I think if we're sticking to strategic and emotion, I think emotion if it's to the leader when you're doing the motion is when it's 100% obvious that it can't be regulated. Like emotion has taken over. It is. I mean, it's it's one of these things when you get emotional, you start. It's a couple things happen. Like when you're stressed, when there's something going on and you're now emotional about it, small things become bigger. Like you start thinking through like little things that even if at work, you're like, man, I wish we didn't do that. Why do we do that? That's stupid. Like it doesn't make sense. When you have those emotional things that you can't regulate, I feel like you as an employee, you start thinking that thing that you're like, I don't know why we do that, to be like, this is why this company doesn't work. It's like you hit the big button and it becomes something just like, hey, a minor tweak turns into a big deal. So I think from an emotional side, when you sense that as a leader that you have somebody that's dealing with something, like if it's when I was helping with quality assurance and customers, if I realized that one of our customer service team members was struggling with a customer, hey, let me step in because it's moved past that. Yeah. Especially when like our project manager and stuff have dealt with this customer and had that interaction or that stress face to face. Yeah. Hey, I haven't. Let me step in and let me come in and try to help with that. So I think from an emotional side, you realize, hey, it's a psychological thing. I need to be able to step in and let's have a fresh start. Yeah. So.
I think it's two things for me. One is core values.
Oh, absolutely.
If there are core values that are at stake, you as a leader should be setting the example for core values. So if there's like a major thing that's violating a core value, especially from your leadership team, step in.
Call that ethics. Ethics of your company. Yeah.
Number two is. And, not every leader has these, but, like Benji, for me and you specifically, we have very specific roles and responsibilities, okay? So if you know what those are for you as a leader and it's your role and your responsibility, then step in. If it's not specifically your role and responsibility, then maybe the person that has that, they should fix that problem.
Yeah. I would also say safety. Anytime you have a safety issue, you think it could become harmful or what have you. Maybe you just said the team may be overwhelmed. They have no more bandwidth, no more capacity. They are empty. Could be, you mentioned this, high stakes client. comes to the table, and
Yeah.
you're like, hey man, this client, they do business with us a lot.
Yeah.
And again, the customer is not always right, but the customer should always be heard.
Yeah.
And at least listen, try to figure out a solution. We had a situation a few weeks ago. We're doing a work at a hospital, and the claim had been going on. We weren't really involved with this early in the game, but they called us for additional help, backup. Let's call it backup support. And I asked the client, I'm like, so what exactly is your A1 right now? He said, man, I told your other team this 6 days ago, and it still hasn't been done. I'm like, what is that? He said, I got to have the bathrooms in this facility up and operational, because if I can't get people in the building. They cannot come into a 15-story building.
Yeah.
Secondly, I've got to make sure, because of the type of water damage that it was, he said, I've got to make sure that the carpet that feeds into the bathroom is replaced, even if it's temporary carpet for now. Because you obviously don't have this carpet sitting on your shelf, you know. He said, if you'll do these two things and make sure that the elevator lobbies are cleaned and sanitized so people can use the elevators to go up and down the building, everything else we can put up containment, we can do what we need to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just got to listen, you know. But to your point, sometimes our team gets in the way of just got to do. You got to get everything done.
Yeah.
Just listen to the customer, right?
Yeah, that's good.
So here's a couple of the reasons as we get ready to wrap up, you know, when we should not step in. We know that the team is capable. They might just be uncomfortable in the situation. You mentioned that a second ago. It can be a growth opportunity that requires them to be stretched a little bit, right? We know that. You got to give them the rope. Now, don't let them drown, but you got to give them the rope. Growth doesn't happen when leaders rescue. It happens when they refuse to let them do that.
Yeah.
So how do we coach instead of fixing the problem? Okay. Now, again, this could go not just for a leader or manager. Maybe you have a client out there that you're dealing with. What can we do to just, instead of just fix it, talk them through the situation? First, what have you tried to do? Here's what to do. That's what a leader should never say. Hey, here's what you should do. Now, what have you tried? Let's talk through it. Let's see if you can come up with a suggestion to make this better, because next time you'll be set up for success. Offers the support, not necessarily a solution. You mentioned that a few minutes ago. And then don't just fix the problems, fix your process of fixing. Yeah. Again, give them the rope. Don't let them drown. So just a few things as we wrap up. We don't scale our leadership by doing more. We scale it by trusting more. And that sometimes as a leader can be hard, because some leaders will say, well, I write the check. They're going to do it this way. You know, we have a playbook. Use the playbook. Yeah. And you're gonna not do it like you said. They're not gonna do it like you do it. They're not gonna do it like I do it. Yeah. But as long as it gets resolved and everybody's emotionally on the same page, like we're not raising escalation of emotions and such, it'll, as long as it gets fixed, it's fine. The customer's taken care of at the end of the day.
Well, and I thought you said real quick before we close down, you had mentioned, you know, doing things that even when you feel out of place or you feel awkward in that. We're going through a book right now at the church called Captivate. It's talking about how to succeed with people. We've talked about the church for us. It's very similar in business, but for us at the church, we're in the business of people. Like if we can't work with those people, we can't lead them to Jesus. Like if we, and same thing with us, if we can't work as a team, we can't do it. I think sometimes too, a lot of times when we have issues where we feel like we need to step in, it may be something as simple as your team feels that uncomfortableness. And that was one of the things when you said that resonated, because we talked about that in our staff meeting yesterday. Like what we did was really cool. It's like, hey, where do you thrive? Where are you neutral? And where do you survive? It's like, so for me, I was like, hey, I thrive behind a camera. You can put me anywhere. Doesn't matter what it is. If I'm behind the lens and taking photos, I feel good. I said neutral, hey, you know, I'm not a big fan of big meetings or big events, things like that, where there's a lot of people, but I can handle it because I feel like I can kind of hide. It was funny. I said where I have to survive is when I'm right now the only one on the team that can handle video, and I have to go to women's night, and I feel like the awkward dude at women's night taking photos and video. But it's true. We were like, where in the church do you have these? I feel like too, those are some things you look at with your people. Where do they feel uncomfortable at, and where do they have those moments? For us, we're in the business of people. It means we have to go to events. If you're if you're introverted, you're in the wrong line of work.
For sure.
We're gonna have men's night and women's night and marriage night and Sundays and things like that. So you got to figure out how to be at these events. And I think sometimes too, that's what we have to recognize with our team. And the whole reason we went to that yesterday is be like, where do the other people that you sit next to, where do you see them thrive at? Where they say, hey, this is where I thrive at. And we talked about where there were some things that you're like, I didn't realize that person, like, you know, you're like, hey, they do this all the time.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but inside I'm dying. So I think sometimes too, when you mention those things, how to regulate and know when to step in, is realize those moments, but also realize that's something you're trying to teach your team. Like, hey, awkwardness is not fun.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, you grow in discomfort. You don't grow in comfort. You grow in discomfort. So it'll kind of let you in those moments to step in.
Yeah. Empowerment is not. It's a long game.
Yeah.
Right. You have to do that. It will pay off in your capacity as a leader. It'll pay off in initiative. It'll empower them. But to piggyback on that, it doesn't mean we don't have to hold them accountable to the process, right? To the playbook, whatever.
Put me in the
that
pressure
is.
cooker sometimes. It's not fun, but put me in it.
Yeah. Model ourselves as leaders, model our self-control and patience. It's what builds our leadership culture, right? I believe we have a great culture here at Team Wilson. And as we close out, just a quote to think about if you're out there listening. Great teams aren't built by heroic leaders. They're built by leaders who stop being the hero. Great way to think about it. Well, as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Higher Up Podcast. You can connect with us on any social platform out there. You can go to higheruppodcast.com/subscribe. Subscribe to your favorite platform. If you're watching on YouTube, hope you love the quality that we have here. And reach out, chat, let us know. Maybe send us in a text of something you want to hear about on the show. We appreciate the feedback. Thank you for all that are listening and watching. And again, go out and choose to live a higher up life. We'll see you next time.